Mutual funds and exchange-traded funds have allowed small investors to diversify cheaply, but there are tens of thousands of funds with different performances and expenses. How can you easily find the best funds? The Financial Industry Regulatory Authority has provided a tool that makes it easy to compare funds of all types and to find funds with particular investment objectives or according to other criteria. The Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, otherwise known as FINRA, is a government-authorized, not-for-profit organization working under the aegis of the Securities and Exchange Commission that helps to ensure fairness in the financial markets and handles complaints about brokers, and provides a tool to check on brokers for any disciplinary action against them. The tool to compare funds, called naturally enough the Fund Analyzer, is a free tool provided by FINRA that anyone can use to easily compare mutual funds and exchange-traded funds. For instance, if you wanted to find funds dealing in artificial intelligence, you can simply type the search terms in the search box. It shows the total number of funds found, and you can even sort the list by expense ratios by clicking on the little arrow at the top of the column. You can also use the Fund Analyzer to find stocks with a particular focus. Suppose, for instance, you wanted to find more stocks of companies involved with artificial intelligence. You can just display the funds that focus on artificial intelligence, then search the web for details for that particular fund, then look at its top holdings. This will give you a list of prominent companies focusing on your objective. You can also search for particular issuers, such as Vanguard. You can easily clear any search terms by clicking the X on the right-hand side of the search box. Now I will discuss the various filters displayed on the sidebar that you can use to refine your search. You can filter the list by product type, such as exchange-traded funds or mutual funds, or even both. Note that these filters combine with the terms in the search box. In this example, the selected filters restrict the search for all Vanguard funds that are either an exchange-traded fund or a mutual fund. You can also do reverse sorts, such as reverse sorting on the fund name. The Fund Analyzer allows you to search for particular share classes of mutual funds. So, if you wanted to search for mutual funds with a Class A category, then just check the appropriate box. You can also filter according to the fund's objective, such as aggressive growth or world stock. You can search for funds consisting of corporate bonds, government bonds, municipal bonds, and specialty securities, such as precious metals or technology. You can also search for several categories of money market funds. For instance, if you want to search for money market funds that are exempt from federal taxes, then just click the box for federal tax exempt. You can also select funds according to minimum purchase, making it easy to find funds with no minimum purchase. Likewise, there is a slider for selecting funds based on annual operating expenses. You can also select for Morningstar style boxes for equities. You can even make multiple selections. And there is a separate Morningstar style box for bonds. Restrict funds according to Morningstar ratings. Select specific Morningstar categories, of which there are many, as you can see here. A good use of this tool is to find funds that you may be unfamiliar with. For instance, Japanese stocks have been doing very well lately, and they are expected to continue doing well. With the Fund Analyzer, you can select funds focused on Japanese stocks and sort them according to expense ratio. As you can see here, the Fund Analyzer has found 38 funds, both mutual funds and exchange-traded funds, that focus on Japanese stocks. You can click the plus sign next to funds that you may be interested in, up to 3 choices at a time. Then click Analyze to compare them in more detail. Values that you see here for the initial contribution, rate of return, and the holding period are used to determine the future value of these funds, given the initial values. You can easily change these values to better suit your investment strategy. Note, however, that the rate of return is not the actual return of the fund, but the return that you expect. But choosing a value of the rate of return will also allow you to see how the 3 funds compare with that rate of return. The difference in returns is because of the differences in fees and expenses. And as you can see, the fund comparison displays a lot of detailed information on the 3 funds. Note that this section has 4 tabs. This section shows the total cost of each fund over the horizon that you have chosen, which for this example is 10 years. You can see the future value of each fund given the rate of return that you have chosen and the fund's fees and expenses. It even provides a graph of the future value of each fund. This section on discount qualification applies to mutual funds and will often have no information available, as you can see here. The comparison tool also shows the average annual return for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and the average return since inception. This section shows the investment objective of Pacific stock, the Morningstar category of Japan stock, the Morningstar ratings for each fund, and the Morningstar style box categories. If you want to change funds to compare, then click on Change Selection to go back to your original list. Remove choices by clicking the small X in the upper right-hand corner of each choice. Sometimes it might be hard to figure out which search terms to use when you are looking for specific funds. For instance, I wanted to find funds with long duration, but it did not show me all the funds I was interested in. Since the funds that I was interested in were also based on U.S. Treasuries, I just put in the term for Treasury and found the funds that I wanted to compare. The Fund Analyzer also provides advanced options. I am not going to go over this in detail, but this gives you an idea of what is available if you want to dig in deeper. Click on the plus sign next to the option to get more details and to input additional information for that option. Note that some of these options apply only to mutual funds, such as letters of intent, rights of accumulation, and share conversion. Many mutual fund shares are classified according to the services provided to shareholders, or distribution arrangements, with different fees and expenses, and a different payment schedule that apply to each class. However, investment objectives in the portfolio of securities is the same for all classes, but because of the different expenses and when they are charged, there may be some difference in the performance of each class depending on how long the fund is held and what class was purchased. This multi-class structure enables you to choose a class with fees and expenses that will yield the greatest benefit for your expected holding time. But how much these fees and expenses will cost you will depend on your holding period, making it more difficult to compare mutual funds and their classes. The Fund Analyzer simplifies this comparison by showing you total costs and expected returns for the holding period that you choose in the box above. To show this in more detail, I have selected 3 different classes of the Fidelity Advisor Japan Fund to compare. In this screen, you can see the total cost of each share class over the selected 10-year period. Under the advanced options, you can select whether to apply the loads to the fund. These options are useful for times when the load charges may not apply. For instance, because the load was waived because the purchase was within a wrap account or a fee-based account. Also, the contingent deferred sales charge, often abbreviated CDSC, declines the longer the fund is held. So it may be 0 if you hold the fund long enough. Shares of some mutual funds may convert to another class if the fund is held long enough. This holding period is stipulated in the prospectus for the mutual fund. The Fund Analyzer uses this value when available, but you should always consult the prospectus first to ensure that it is still accurate, since issuers often modify their prospectuses. The tab for return over time shows you the total return on the funds after the 10-year period and after subtracting fees and expenses. The share class providing the highest total return is highlighted with the green background, as you can see here. This section also provides a table showing the different rates of return depending on the annual rate of return and the number of years the fund is held. This section shows the discount qualifications available to each share class, if they are available. The last section shows more details on the various loads and fees, and it even provides a chart at the bottom showing graphically when the charges apply. Thank you very much for your time. If you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I would appreciate any suggestions, so please leave them in the comments below. Check out my website at thismatter.com for more than 850 in-depth fundamental tutorials in personal finance, investments, and economics. Check out my books on money at williamspalding.com. Thank you.